Another interesting episode of Inside Out. This week we have a topic that is a very touchy one, and the issue is VVF. Some of you, I don't know if everybody has heard about this, but if you haven't, luckily we have a prof in the house who will be educating us. I think it is time that we take this issue seriously. VVF, what does that mean? How does it happen? What is it about?
VVF, basically as it sounds, means VesicoVaginal Fistula. That's a communication between the urinary bladder and the vagina, such that urine continuously leaks from the bladder into the vagina, so there's no stopping it. And
so the urine just keeps coming? It
just keeps coming. And so you find out that those who have VesicoVaginal Fistula cannot stay even in this room without actually the stench catching us, because the urine stinks.
You mean even as they're sitting, as they're walking, urine is just coming out?
It's just coming out, so they have to they don't use sanitary towels, they use cloth, mops, actually to gap that from leaking out. And basically speaking, it's anything that will break the barrier between the bladder and the vagina that causes that. Incidentally, in this case, the commonest reason we say is pressure necrosis. That's pressure of the head of a baby staying too long during the process of birth. The head staying too long, and that bone compressing the soft tissue between the vagina and the bladder.
So this is basically a disease of women?
It's basically a disease of women.
We've seen children at 12, 13, 14, or heard of, even in the developed countries, getting pregnant. But I don't think I've ever heard of VVF. What are we doing wrong? Or what is wrong?
It is generally known that a child below 18 is a minor and should not or cannot validly enter a contract on his own. But we have cases where children are being married off at 16, at 13, at 14 in Nigeria. We're all aware of this.
At 9.
So ideally, in an ideal setting, those marriages are illegal. Reports have shown that this is mostly prevalent in either rural areas or in more traditional settings where the value on the girl child is next to none, where the girl child is considered an asset to be disposed of or a means to an end. So most people don't know, or they don't care. There is no enforcement mechanism. So if I have, or if a man, for instance, has 6 daughters, no son, it's first of all an issue that there's no son, and there's 6 daughters, and then he's from a poor environment, you know, there is poverty in that setting. The girls are a means to an end. He doesn't think that they are entitled to education, for instance. After all, they are not male children. And so these types of settings, this framework does not in any way help the girl child, does not even assist in solving this problem from the roots of it before they even occur.
Now, according to law, is that wrong?
You mentioned something about not having laws stated. Now, in the Nigerian Constitution, which is the 99 Constitution presently, we have stated there that marriageable age to 18. Now, under the child protection... Is it
specifically stated?
It's actually highlighted and given an interpretation that it's 18, which is which is matured age. Now, we also have the child protection, that's the child right law, which also states that the age of a matured child is 18. Now, in Nigeria, we have 36 states. And under the 36 states, we have just basically about 23 of them. Originally, it was 16 states that were working with the child right law. But presently, we have like about 23.
The child right law, is it a universal law?
It's actually supposed to be a universal law, legally a universal law.
Are we signed to that act?
Yes, we are. But presently, we have just 23 states under the 36 states working with it. We don't have the complete, and that's why...
Is it optional? Can you opt out of it?
it's not meant, legally it's not meant to be optional. But as it is, it's the belief, the cultural belief. Nigeria works with not just legal, we also work with culturalism. That's why we have things like, tell you the Sharia law, and then we also have the cost.
Galadima, let me talk to you.
Yes,
I mean, you were the one who actually made us discuss this today. Can you share with us a bit of your personal experience and what you do?
I mean, I am from Kano.
Yes.
Then when I understand about fistula, it was when my sister has a cervical cancer. So at the time when
she had cervical cancer?
Yes. So at that time, the cancer awareness is not like today, because I'm talking about something 1995, 96. And that time I'm still very young. So at that time, we are struggling from hospital to herbalists and all those things to see whether it's a problem, because her own is sometimes there is blood, mucus coming out from her private parts. So they don't understand and nobody understands. So it was later we now go to the hospital. So by going to the hospital that we had in Kano, that one they refer us to Ibadan Teaching Hospital. And when we get there, they now say that there is something therapy they have to do, because it's like she has some a kind of is it virus or whatever that they will kill before she will get the everything done. So as they were doing the therapy, I guess the heat is too much, where her large intestine now got dried. So anything she ate is like within the large intestine towards the end, because it was X-rayed. Towards the end of the large intestine, I can see there is a broken. So usually the food doesn't come down normal. So it's like it has to look for another place. So she's now start leaking stool from her private parts. And she go through the packaging and all those things, where she has to package herself very well. And after like 30 minutes, she has to go inside, remove all those things, change again. So it's a very horrible situation, and so at that time.
Hold. Doc, what happened in that case?
I guess we're talking about a slightly different thing.
Yes.
One of the causes of VesicoVaginal Fistula
yes.
actually can be a tumor itself, cancer. Cancer is a growth, malignant growth on the neck of the womb. But you know, they are contiguous organs. The bladder is in front, the rectum is below. So cancer can really, in its growth, really hit into the wall of the bladder and destroy it, and you can have VVF. It can also go backwards and get into the rectum and also create a hole, and physics comes from there. Unfortunately, treatment for cancer also, cancer of the cervix, one of the most important treatments actually is putting radioactive substances for radiation into the vaginal cavity to try and burn the cancer out. So sometimes that also burns the walls. And so there's radiation injury. That radiation injury can also cause a window, either with the bladder in front or the rectum behind.
So that's what happened?
That's what happened in that case, but there are well-recognized complications of the treatment of cervical cancer.
Okay. Yeah, I just needed to understand that, because his story goes beyond that, but that was what introduced him to VVF in the first place. Yeah.
So at that time, I have the belief that I know definitely there's every chance that she might not survive. So at that time within the hospital, she was now telling me that, see young girls that wish you are a medical doctor. Because all through this problem we are together and everything, see them or they are having BVF. And I told her that, what is that? She said, she too, she just had it. There is a condition where if early marriage or whatever, that the girl will be leaking urine. So we now went home. So after like 3 months, my sister now died. So since then, I now began to say, okay, what will I do? I keep visiting the same hospital, trying to see what I can do. Actually.
What has been your observation, your experience?
Yes, at that time, it's like, okay, yes to my sister, but not any other girls. I have to do all I can.
I would like to think that by now there should be a pressure group to push for a change in the laws concerning this.
Yeah, there's a lot of that going on. Just the other day, we had a meeting in Abuja, and you must have been aware that the Federal Ministry of Health actually rolled out some program where $1.5 million.
Yes, I heard that.
I was involved.
Especially in the rural
all the
areas.
local governments and all that. So that those things have been set up.
Somebody who has VVF right now,
Yeah.
is there anywhere they can go to immediately and get instant help?
Yes.
Yes.
There
Lots.
are some, if it's in the south, maybe Akwa Ibom.
Lots, no, lots. There are lots.
A lot of general, what do you call it, teaching hospital, they do that.
It will be free.
Yes, it's free. So maybe the only problem maybe the person might have, if...
So why are there so many if there's treatment and it's
It's
free?
just the quantum, the number of cases. You see, before we came in here, I asked Galadima, you must agree with me that the situation is not getting worse, rather it's getting better. Because you used to have a queue. You see, it's almost like a fistula village when you go into those places and you see all those young girls leaking urine and all that. But that's, I mean, because of the massive mop-up of that's taking place, that's getting a lot better.
From the Children's Parliament, I want to hear what you think. How do you think this issue can be addressed?
There has to be some certain legislation that has to put a stop to child marriage. And like Prof earlier said, that what we are talking about here is the level of education of the parents and the child inclusive. And when the parents have no education and the children have no education either, it becomes a generational problem.
As with most things we treat, we don't have enough time. We have even overshot our time. Kalima, I'd like to ask what you're doing now.
Normally we set up a foundation
Yes.
called Fistula Foundation Nigeria.
Yes.
It's an NGO that we usually treat the women. We empower them. Then at the same time, we link up them back to their community. Then time to time, we do follow-up to ensure.
You've been doing that?
We have been doing that. So currently, we have... So we now discover that there is young nurses and doctors coming up. So we now say, okay, how can we have more health practitioners so that we have enough doctors that can operate fistula? So we now started a kind of training the doctors on fistula repair, so that they can now be able, at their own, wherever they are, if they see a simple case, they can now be able to deal with it. So currently, it's like we now say, okay, we are trying to kind of close the gap between the government and people. So as an NGO, what do we do? So we now decided that, okay, we want to set up a dedicated fistula hospital. We don't do anything, just fistula. Yes.
So, I mean, so how can we help if we want to help?
That's what I'm saying. We are like a kind of open up. There's a program where we say 1 woman, 1 sponsor. You don't need to have 1 million, 10 million to assist. You can come and assist a single woman by paying for her treatment and employment.
What is the cost of the treatment for one person?
It depends. For example, if a woman has to come from another place, means you pay for her transport. She get it. But basically, it's
what is the cost of the treatment itself?
It's like 80,000 or so.
Really? That's all?
Yeah.
That's all?
Yeah.
Prof, is that cheap?